Raiders, welcome to another video. Our Valentine's Day summon is here, and she comes with a void legendary partner that we're gonna have to figure out how to get. We don't know for sure. We're gonna break these down, and usually this is the point in the video where I open up Raid and I tell you how to use my code to download the game, but I'm gonna tell you to wait. I've got Plarium, I've got Epire making me a new code, a self custom made code that you're going to be able to take into Raid and have the best start of anyone. So don't download Raid yet. If you're starting a new free to play, give me a couple more days and I'm going to have the best start in all of Raid Shadow Legends for you coming real soon. Let's get started with what we're actually going to talk about here, right? We're actually going to talk about the Valentine's Day summon. We're going to break it down and we're just going to use Hell Hades. We're not doing anything fancy here. We are going to talk straight through the Hell Hades cards, the Hell Hades whatchamacallit, who's a call it, how's a call it, how do we phrase this? The Hell Hades version of the cards and their updates and everything else that goes with that. As I try and say, nope, it's not going to happen. All right, I was going to zoom here, and we're not going to. Instead, I'll show it to you from the other side. So the Hell Hades has this huge breakdown. Hell Hades is awesome. We love it. So we use it for all of our best raid stuff. There's an awesome video from Hell Hades on the Valentine's Duo, but we're going to do our own breakdown because we're not late game players, and Hell Hades are all late game players. We're going to do Noldua the Gloaming, and we're going to do Solanar the Gleaming, and we're going to take a look at what Hell Hades says. We're going to do our own early game thoughts. This is the big summary. This is a first impression, and things can change. They think this is going to be a 4.5 star champion. These are arena built champions, as a quick note, supposedly. So this is a support fusion who's going to excel at buff stripping, revival, and countering speed teams, become more powerful and paired with Solanar through irresistible buffs, passive turn meter boosts, and added offensive support. We're not going to read their paragraph. This paragraph is cute, but basically what it does is it goes over the kit. So, like, that's fine. We're going to read the kit in a minute. What is important is this is one of my favorite things to look at. This is where we're always going to start. We're always going to pay attention to this. We want to make sure that we know what people think this is going to be strong or weak against. Do we need help in any of these areas? Really good to waves. 4.5 to waves is nice. Amius is the boss of whatchamacallit. Curse City, we don't care about that necessarily. Into Demon Lord, which means early game players, okay, I guess. Hydra 4 stars, again, Chimera 4 stars. This is all good. Nothing crazy. Dragon 4.5, Spider 4.5, again, decent. Really good into Dragon Heart is nice for the debuff cleanse. Really good into Eternal Dragon. Nothing that this is 5 stars, oh my god, for. 4 stars in Arena as a healer. This seems like a very, 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 very good champion. Again, 4.5 stars means one of the top champions, right? But a very, very, very good champion that might fall just short of must have. We have the now we're gonna look at the kit and some of what the suggestions are to see how well an early game player can actually access these champions, can actually get to this. So we have an increased ally accuracy in all battles by 70, which is nice, right? 70% is almost as high as we get outside of like the mythic realms, and that's going to help all these debuffs and stuff land. The A1 attacks one enemy, 50% chance, and we can make that a 75% chance of enfeeble for 2 turns. Enfeeble basically wrecks the opponent. That's a really powerful debuff. If the target is a boss, we have a 25% weaken, which is going to increase damage against them for 2 turns instead. Can't be resisted if we have Solanar, which is going to be like the theme, right? If we have Solanar, it's going to work. Look, that's really strong for an A1, almost no matter what. We're perfectly happy to have a weaken or an enfeeble in general cases. This is a very, very strong A1, probably one of the stronger A1s. They really, really have, from what I understand, they've buffed the crap out of more recent A1s on new legendaries. So that's good to keep in mind that this is going to be better than most older legendaries A1s. Next up, we have a 75% books to 100 of removing all buffs from all enemies. Can't be resisted if Solanar is on the team. Not bad. 75%, again, books to 100 of a 6% decreased defense on all enemies for 2 turns. So we get rid of all their buffs, which is really nice. And then we're going to do the big version of decreased defense, all enemies. That's really nice. That means that they don't have buffs, and then we're going to do extra damage. Those two things pair exceptionally well together. If Solanar the Gleaming is on the same team, I have a 50% increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. So we want to use I mean, I guess it doesn't matter then, right? Like, so here's the weird thing in raid that it took me a while to understand. Decreased defense also means decreased attack. if you have a defense-based champion. I personally have Leonardo. I personally have Newt. Those are defense champions. 60% increased defense does a lot. 50% increased attack doesn't do anything for them. That only matters for attack champions, your Michelangelos of the world, your Ezios of the world. So that extra little bit is nice, but it's not as like interesting as you think. It just means it can be used on teams that have attack and defense instead of just defense teams. Fine. This is a 3-turn cooldown for remove all buffs, which is pretty nice though. And that like keep 3-turn cooldown for the 2 turns on the decreased defense on the increased attack is pretty good too. Next up, we have the 4-turn revive. Let's see what the revive comes with. The revive is almost always like, what do we got that comes with it? Revive's ulted allows for 50% HP and 50% turn meter. Okay. If Solanar's on the same team, they get 100% turn meter, and that's going to be amazing. So, like, I think this is going to be the key sentence for me right here. This is going to be a reviver, right? Like this is nice. There's other increased defense. There's other get rid of enemy things. 100% turn meter for revive all dead allies is amazing. Absolutely stellar stuff right there. So if we can get that going, it's amazing. Without that, it's just whatever. Places a shield equal to 30% of the champion's max HP. This doesn't seem like it's an HP champion. I don't know if I care about this. This just doesn't seem that impressive to me if I don't have Solanar. If I have Solanar, I think this is absolutely insane. If I don't have Solanar, I'm a little less sold. Let's see if the passive pulls everything together. All turn meter fill effects used by enemies are 30% less effective. That's nice. If Solanar is on the same team, fills the champion's turn meter by 30% of the enemy's turn meter fill effect. Oh, that's really strong. Okay. So if there are multiple champions in the team, yada yada yada, that's always the same thing. Um, only counts turn meter fill effects from skills is nice. So like this seems like a really good healer reviver. Sorry, really good reviver debuffer. Um remove debuffer. Again, increase your damage. This is really solid. But if you don't get Solinar, I don't think this is absolutely amazing. Let's see what the mastery shows, right? So we want a reviver as a partner, and I think this is how we're going to want to build her, because this seems like a PvP champion, right? We're going to want to do the Solinar thing, get the revive, get the 100% turn meter, and really go off, which is going to be the masteries that are defense and support. I guess we're defense and support either way. These aren't terribly different. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. Um, if we want, okay, so we're gonna go. It looks like unless we're doing general PV and we're doing support reviver, right? We're not doing general. We're gonna want one of these two, and then basically what we're deciding is what we want to do with our last support, which is perfectly acceptable. Um, everything else is more or less the same. We don't have to worry about accuracy basically if we have the partner reviver, if we have the Solinar. I'm not sold without Solinar right now. Like especially early game players, right? Where this is going to be a very, very like gear intensive. We've got Brimstone for the 1-4 awakening. We almost always get a way to get the extra awakening on our whatchamacallits. I know the word on our summons, so that's fine. On our fragments summons, so that's fine. Um, what sets do we want for PvP? So we're gonna want speed, which is a nice easy set to get. Speed, HP, defense, resistance, accuracy. Those are all fine. If we have the partner, we don't need the accuracy, which is really nice. Mercurial, Bolster, Rebirth. These are the hardest sets in the game to get, right? PvE, however, we're fine with Speed, Relentless, Reflex, Perception, Mercurial. These are not nearly as hard. So PvE, if you want this champion for PvE, I'm not sure why you do. Right? This doesn't seem especially impressive for me in PvE. It's nice to get that remove all buffs in PvE, but like it's really like fine for like Grim Forest and Doom Tower such, but it's not like amazing. And there's plenty of champions that do that. Um, right? Like I don't know. I'm not super into that for PvE. I think this has to be for PvE. And if it's PvP, you really, really want Solinar. And if you don't have Solinar, I don't know if you care about this. Straight up, that's where I'm landing on this. I don't know if this is worth it if you don't have Solinar. If you're an early game player, and we don't know how to get Solinar yet. So, like, all right, this is where we land with this champion. And part of the reason I think I'm leaning skip is that there's going to be a fusion in March. March is the anniversary for Raid, and when March comes along, the anniversary is apparently always insane. Look, I'm new enough. I'm doing the new player journey with you. It's always insane, and we might want to save for that unless this champion is completely freaking broken. And this doesn't seem like it's better than the last couple, right? It's better than Cassandra. I don't know if this is like 1,000%, better than Yukamasa. It's like it's better, but like I don't think it's a dark elf, so that's nice. It's a faction that needs the help more. I don't know how required this is going to be overall for faction wars. Um, I don't know. I'm Everyone's going to say this is insane, and maybe it is for top end accounts. I don't think that earlier accounts need this nearly as much, unless Solanar is really easy to get. Solanar is a void legendary, which is always a pain in the butt to get. It's possible we get a guaranteed event. If we get a guaranteed event, I might change my mind, right? Like if we know there's a guaranteed event, I might change my mind. This is a high elf apparently though, which is interesting as opposed to the dark elf, which is different, right? Solinar, we can again let's take a quick look at what Solinar looks like over here before we start breaking down the skills and everything else. Solinar is really cool, sun-looking dude. A little bit Super Saiyanish, not bad. So I wish they were the same faction, but what are you gonna do? And then Solinar is a 5-star arena champion. So Solanar is amazing in arena, apparently really good for regular Fire Knight, which can be one of the harder ones. And outside of that, he seems decent. Like nothing amazing here, nothing like flying through the roof. So fine, just kind of fine. If you need something for Fire Knight, having a Fire Knight, which probably means that we're decreasing turn meter just based on experience. Usually a high Fire Knight means turn meter decrease. Low Fire Knight on hard mode means that no freeze. Makes sense for the sun looking elf. And just 4 stars for everything else. These are arena champions. Do you need the arena help? Do you need the arena support? I personally don't. I got Commodus from the double primal event, right? So I mean, you can watch that video if you want, but I got Commodus, so I don't think I especially need this. So we got an ally attack by 30% in all battles. That's not bad. It's not bad. Attacks all enemies. This attack is always critical if Nabil is on the same team. That's nice. Um, this attack is always critical if Nabil is on the same. Look, if he's got 2 attacks that are always critical, if 3 attacks, all attacks always critical if Nabula is on the same team, being able to build him without crit if you have Nabula is really strong. Because that means you can put those stats somewhere else, right? You can throw a bajillion% into crit damage and just go off. 6% chance of a fatigue debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. I don't even know what that is, honestly. I think that's a lower turn meter thing. Passive effect, 80% chance of counterattack with this skill whenever an enemy gets an extra turn or has an instant turn effect activated. That's pretty solid. But again, bosses don't really do that. Um, that's a thing that whatchamacallit, that's a thing that happens in PvE. So like PvP. So this is again showing PvP. So we can book that 60% debuff up to 100 at least, right? And we can book that fatigue up to an 80. Okay. 50% chance to counterattack with the skill whenever an enemy has their turn meter increased. Okay. Again, this is PvP. Nice PvP A1. And we do care about books here. All right. A2 attacks 1 enemy. This attack is always attacking 1 enemy is rough here. Like we're just all attacking 1 enemy. Oh no, the A1 attacks all enemies. That's decent. All right, attacks 1 enemy. This attack is always critical. Yada. We'll ignore 10% of defense for each buff on the champ. So we want to get a bunch of buffs on the champ, and Noluda is going to give two buffs. This champion is immune to all debuffs while this skill is not on cooldown. So if you're going a little slower, you can just be immune to all debuffs. That's nice. Whenever an enemy attempts to place a debuff on the champion while the skill is not on cooldown, champion gains a random buff instead. Cool. That's pretty solid. 3-turn cooldown means we should be able to keep this off. I mean, we might just want to not use this, right? I mean, I feel like we just don't use this skill. We say this is never on cooldown. And I mean, 3-turn cooldown, but we don't really care. We just leave it up all the time, right? And then we get an attack 1 enemy before attacking steals all buffs and 100% turn meter from the target if they are not under stone skin. The effect cannot be resisted. If the attack is always critical, yada, we'll ignore stone skin. So you don't do the steal of everything if they're under soul skin, but you still ignore stone skin. Okay. That's really good for once more arena. The champion receives 75% less damage on enemy extra turns or instant turns while this skill is not on cooldown. It's annoying, right? Well, the skill is on cooldown, reduces the cooldown by 1 whenever an enemy receives an extra turn or instant turn effect activated on them, has their turn meter increased, occurs once returned. So that turn meter increase is really nice, right? If they increase their turn meter, you're going to get that extra stuff. However, this is not booking down This is just more damage. This is not booking down. It's 4 turns no matter what, which is rough. So you're like, if you're not facing someone who's doing extra turns, especially something like Live Arena where they can play around that, yeesh, yeesh. All right, whenever an enemy receives healing, 100% chance to reduce the amount of healing but to 0. That's amazingly strong. Okay, that's our PvE use, right? Um Obviously that's going to be amazing in Grim Forest, like every boss in Grim Forest heals. That's going to be amazing into Fire Knight where like they're healing. That's really really good. This champion receives that healing instead. If Noldua is on the same team, enemies receive damage equal to the amount of healing instead. I think I'd rather just receive the healing than do that damage, but okay. Once per round, if this champion is dead, revive this champion with 100% HP, 100% turn meter when their last living ally is killed. Okay. Then places Magma Shield on the champion for 2 turns. Okay. Um, that Magma Shield is 300 max HP. If Noldua the Gloaming is on the same team, this buff is protected. All right. So I was like all out on this champion. Scholar of the Sun means that if you're having trouble in your Grim Forest or with your whatever, right? Like if you're having trouble with the wave content with Cursed City or anything, this is going to be really good. Outside of that, unless you're desperate for like PvP help, I think we keep saving. I think our early game accounts are going to do better by saying we're going to save up and get those anniversary things. That's exactly where I'm landing on this right now. Um, Recommend to use these blessings. We got Heaven Crest, which is just extra damage, and then eventually Crushing Run. Again, we're assuming there's a guaranteed event for this. If there's not a guaranteed event, then this is all kind of moot because we're not going to open a million shards as early game players for this champion. It is just not quite good enough. Our PvP stuff is Lethal Savage, Stone Kid, and Girl. Again, all the hardest stuff to get, as is tradition for PvP. Lethal Savage is easy to get, right? At least there's Savage. Recommended PvE, Lethal Savage, Cruel, Merciless, Perception. So we're trying to basically just ignore defense as much as possible so we can hit harder. Um, we don't care about crit rate if we have our friend on the same team. So if you decide to go for it, you can build without crit rate, and you can do attack percentage and crit damage along with speed and accuracy, and just go to town. But unless you need that passive, unless you're desperate for turn off healing, unless you're desperate for turn off healing, I think this is a miss. Unless you are desperate, absolutely like really, really need some PvE, you just don't have good PvE champions. I think, sorry, PvP champions. I keep saying PvE. It's very silly. Unless you are absolutely desperate for really good PvP champions, I think we can absolutely do without these champions and skipping this and saving. I think that's my current plan, unless somebody can tell me otherwise. I think these are great, great, great champions, but they're great later game champions. And I think with the anniversary on the horizon, where we're going to land is skipping. All right, don't forget, I will have the best raid code for you real, real soon. So stay tuned, keep waiting, and I'll see you then. Peace.